So today we heard from the U.S. Trade Representative, echoing the president's warning that came last night at his rally in Phoenix that he might tear up NAFTA if he can't renegotiate it. So we have another episode on our hands tonight of the nationalists versus the globalists and the implications there for the economy of the markets. Kevin Kelly's here, managing partner at Kelly & Company, and Liz Peek is back with us as well. I said before, this is like the big theme that we could talk about every night. Is it Cohn and the globalists kicking out Bannon and the nationalists? But who wins this one, do you think? Where's the president on trade right now?
Well, I think this is another one of these situations like Afghanistan where the president campaigned on something that's just incredibly hard to actually make happen. And when he actually is presented with all the facts and figures, he's going to decide, no, we can't blow up NAFTA because this is incredibly important, mainly to our auto industry.
So he's not a protectionist?
No, I don't think he is at all. I think what he's talked about is fair trade, not free trade, or free trade and fair trade, making sure they're synonymous, and I think that's totally right.
Isn't there, how do you manage that, Kevin? Because that's something like sometimes we don't get into nuances enough in that, because you get the Wall Street side and one side saying, you know, we need everything to be quote-unquote free trade, and then these quote-unquote nationalists saying, no, just tear it all up. Isn't there some sort of a balance here? Is the president right about a lot of that?
Yeah, there's a balance, especially because this isn't just about jobs. It's also about the quality and standard of living for people here in the United States. If we can foster specialized skills as well as the benefits of our specialized advantages that we can have over other nations, we should be making good products, right? We shouldn't try to save every single job because not every job is created equal. And also think about how we've benefited from the low price of iPhones.
Yeah,
right?
we have cheaper stuff coming in from overseas.
Exactly.
We do. It gets lost. It used to not be talked about all the time. I don't feel like it is now. But Kevin, where do you think the president is on this? So Liz says he's not a protectionist 100%.
Yeah, I think he is more protectionist on this subject.
Think he'll tear up NAFTA?
I don't think he'll tear up NAFTA because we have strong-willed leaders who know about the trade deals that we need to make, including Wilbur Ross, who've talked about how we need to modernize NAFTA, and we can benefit more from modernizing it than ripping it up, and he's especially working with our trade rep, Lighthizer, on this situation.
And by the way, farmers, for example, as an industry in the United States, have benefited enormously from NAFTA. We actually have about a $55 billion trade deficit with Mexico. If you take out autos, we have a trade surplus. So there are many industries that you will be hearing from as he attacks NAFTA, who are basically going to say this isn't going to work.
You know, big picture here is there anything to this idea that there was a shift last week in the administration? Kevin, do you believe with Bannon out? Do you think the Cohn and Company are winning, these globalists, on these types of issues?
I absolutely think so, because if you start to look at where the dollar has been so far this year, down about 7%, and there's no talk about making it stronger. And that was a big campaign promise of Donald Trump. He thinks we should make it stronger, and look at what's happened. And then you start to see who's leaving the White House right now.
Correct me if I'm wrong, he's talked lately about a weak dollar helping American companies.
And that's not to the benefit, because you want, in order for companies to reinvest in the United States, they need to know that their dollar is going to be stronger going forward, not weaker. And so they would want to buy properties, plant, equipment, and reinvest in people as opposed to dividends, stock buybacks. And they're not doing that if they think the dollar is going to be weaker.
On the other hand, it's a whole lot easier to export from the United States if the dollar is weaker. So
But a government official, remember the days like John Snow and Bob Rubin? Nobody used to say it, even if they thought it.
Economy, 66% of the economy is services. We're not really a giant exporting nation, nor should we be.
Well, I would differ with you. I think going back to the NAFTA discussion, we are going to be looking at a lot of different things. They've just started renegotiating. I think where we're going to end up is there are going to be some changes. There are going to be further protection. The main thing that Trump is going to want to talk about when this is all said and done is that wages have to go up in Mexico. And I think that's kind of what they're going to be talking about. That would be a big win for him, because it would diminish the difference, the gap between Mexican labor and ours, and be helpful to American
manufacturers. But the globalists are going to focus on automation as the biggest job killer, not jobs from Mexico and Canada. So we need to specialize our jobs in our labor force here. The people that have been hurt the most by this have been the people without degrees and in lower skilled jobs.
Right, and many were Trump supporters, and then he got a lot from those types of people who have been hit so hard during the election.